Hi, and welcome to the Digital Freedom Coach podcast with me, Erik Olsson. Here, we go in depth and talk about how you can use digital tools to create more freedom in your life. Are you, as me, curious about how you can work remotely, how you can build a business online, and what it actually takes to create the life of your dreams? Then this is the podcast for you. For more info on what we do, check out thedigitalfreedomcoach.com. So great. So we have another very interesting episode with the Digital Freedom Coach podcast. And here I am again. And we had a few very interesting guests. So I thought, let's continue. And I wanted to invite it's another primal health coach as well, whom I knew since before. And I know him as well, kind of organizing. We talked about courses and kind of business coaching, and we've been chatting a bit about different membership sites and options, right? So today I want to welcome Chris Becker. So Chris, I know you have a few different brands. You have like Ketology. So I'm very curious to hear about that part, and also about like your online courses and memberships and everything. But please, Chris, share a bit about yourself. Like, who is Chris? Like, who are you? And share a bit about your background as well. Like, how come you ended up where you are at this stage?
Right on. Well, thanks for having me on, Erik. I really appreciate it. And again, my background is I was a wedding photographer for most of my entire life. Okay, this is actually, I still shoot weddings on the side now, and I've been photographing weddings for 25 years. I've been a photographer for over 30 years. I started right out of high school. I just picked up a camera. I really liked it, and I was just really into photography. And I started my photography business right as the internet was getting popular. I mean, I remember talking to some of my early brides, and I was like, you could go on my website. And I used to have to explain what a website was. I'm like, you could go on your computer and look at my pictures. And it was like, that was mind blowing. But I had this website up early on before Google even existed, but I had a website, and people would find my website and they would fly me to other parts of the United States. And I was based in Southern California, and then I would be in New York and in Florida and then Mexico and Jamaica. And I started just traveling all over the world because I had this fancy thing called a website. So again, it's been a crazy 25 years doing this kind of stuff. But then, we'll get into this later in the podcast, but I kind of had some health challenges. I was overweight my whole life, all that stuff. Finally lost about 100 pounds. And then all my photographer friends started like asking for advice. So I started doing health coaching, and that's kind of how I got connected with you. But back even just before that, when I shot weddings, I made really good money because people paid a lot and I was in high demand. The problem was, if I didn't shoot any weddings, I didn't make any money.
Yeah.
So even, about 15 years ago, I started building a social network for photographers. So that was my first kind of foray into kind of memberships and courses and online stuff like that. And so it's kind of crazy. I've just been doing that for a while now. And I always feel like if I ever figure something out for my life, I try to help others. And hey, like, again, when I was a really successful photographer, I started helping other photographers. And then right now, I lost all this weight and I know how to keep it off. So I started helping people with weight loss. So, that's what I'm up to. And same thing now. It's like, well, hey, I've figured out how to make some money online. So I'm always trying to help other people, make money online.
So what like, Chris, okay, so let's, like, what are your main areas, like focus areas? Like, you're a health coach, you have courses, right? And you have membership site, and are you still a wedding photographer? I mean, you have a pamphlet of activity.
I have a lot going on. Yeah. So on my personal website, it says I'm a wedding photographer / fat loss coach, so that's kind of what I'm focusing on. And again, it was wedding photography was my main job. And then the weight loss coaching was kind of a side hustle, but now that's becoming my main job. And the wedding photography is a side hustle. And then in addition to the weight loss coaching and stuff, I also do some business coaching. So I help other coaches build courses and memberships and websites and stuff like that. So I do a little of everything right now. I'm a big believer in trying to get as many streams of income as possible, because last year when COVID hit, almost a year ago this week, like our wedding business kind of took a huge hit because weddings got canceled.
Yeah.
And like I said, you know, we make really good money when we shoot weddings, but if we don't shoot weddings, the money doesn't come in. And so many people had to cancel their weddings last year. So we took a, you know, pretty big financial hit, but thankfully I had other sources of income because I had a membership, I had courses, I had coaching, I had some digital products and stuff like that. And so that kind of sustained us through last year. And, you know, it was already, the plan was already to make the coaching and the online presence more what I'm doing, less photography. Not that I don't love photography, so I still love taking pictures. I don't really love running the photography business. I don't really love doing Photoshop and all that behind the scenes. Taking pictures, super fun. The business part, I'm over it, you know, so I'm working on other
Okay.
things.
Yeah. I'm curious, kind of, Chris, like I totally agree with, you know, having several different sources of income, different income streams, right? And
Mm-hmm.
as you say as well, okay, we got hit by the COVID. Many people kind of went out of business, or, you know, they lost their jobs and so on. So it's kind of very vulnerable situation, right? So I'm curious as well, have you always had this kind of mindset, this entrepreneurial mindset with different income streams, or like share a bit about your background? You know, were you kind of more like, let's get the 9 to 5 job before, or you kind of went into the wedding business, wedding photography business, and you created this mindset like early on?
No, I was really lucky. I had a mentor that kind of helped me right away.
Okay.
Like, again, I was really into photography in high school. I took pictures for the school newspaper, the yearbook, stuff like that. I got a job at like a 1 hour photo lab. And, you know, it was just an after school job. And I was already taking all the film there from the school anyway to get it processed. So the guy's like, hey, why
Yeah.
don't you just work here? So I started working this job and making, you know, a couple bucks an hour and stuff like that. But the guy who owned that photo lab really taught me how to hustle, how to build my own business. And so again, this is back in the, you know, the late 80s, early 90s, where, you know, minimum wage in, you know, the United States was $4.25 per hour.
Wow.
And,
Okay.
you know, I was already making twice that at the photo lab. It was a really good job. But then I would go out and shoot a family session and I'd make $100 in an hour, you
Yeah.
know, as a teenager.
Yeah.
And then after the session, I would sell pictures, and I would sell big pictures to put up on people's walls and Christmas cards and prints that they give to family members. So this guy really taught me how to build a business. And so by the time I was 18 years old, when I graduated from high school, I started making 6 figures. And all my friends were, you know, working at McDonald's or some
Sure.
terrible job or whatever. And so I did have that kind of entrepreneurial spirit. I thought like, hey, the sky is the limit. I didn't end up going to college because I was just making so much money in my business. And I
Yeah.
loved being my own boss. I
Yeah.
loved not having to work for anybody else.
Yeah.
I loved that freedom. Also being a wedding photographer, like, man, I could sleep in 5 days a week, you know, and then on Saturdays I'd have to get up early. And Saturdays I'd have to like shave and I'd have to put on a suit. But the rest of the time it was so nice just during the week. I mean, I worked, but I didn't have like a schedule. I didn't answer to anyone. So I
Yeah.
really liked that idea of freedom early on. I was like my own boss, my own man. And then it was like, if I felt lazy, and I wouldn't make as much money. But then if I felt like I wanted to hustle, I could make as much money as I wanted to. And so
Okay.
I've just always had that kind of fire. And again, I haven't worked for anyone else in like 30 years almost. So it's
Wow.
been awesome.
Yeah. I feel inspired like now.
Yeah, good. Yeah. I'm
I'm
telling you,
also, yeah.
no, I just think working for other people is like, okay, you could get a job. There is something every once in a while, like, oh, it'd be nice if I just had a steady paycheck and I didn't have
Yeah.
to worry. But
Yeah.
that's just not my personality. I like that I'd be limited by the paycheck that I got every 2 weeks or whatever. Where now it's like my income is literally up to as hard as I want to work, you know, and so it is funny. Like again, we have multiple streams, but I also have children now. We're
Yeah.
expecting our third children actually this month. The baby's due in a
Okay.
couple more
Cool.
weeks.
Yeah.
So it's like there's just all this going on, and I definitely try to spend time with my kids. But while they're at school, I work, and
Yeah.
then when they get home from school, I don't work anymore. I spend time with my kids, you know. And it's so nice not to have those schedules where, oh, I have to work 9 to 5 or do this or do that. So this whole digital lifestyle has always appealed to me for, I mean, at least the last 20 years or so.
So how do you kind of see or regard, like, I mean, most people have a regular 9 to 5, right? They go to the job and they work 9 to 5 and they get the salary at the end of the month and they pay the bills
Mm-hmm.
and, they have a boss and all that kind of. What are your thoughts on that? It doesn't really attract you, I
I
suppose.
I mean, it's like I said, part of it sounds attractive, especially with COVID last year, like when these weddings shut down and we
Yeah.
lost out on a lot of income. It would have been nice to have a company that just paid us to stay home and whatever. That would have been really nice. But again, it's not my thing. I'm my own man. I do my own thing. I liked having that freedom. And even though there is some uncertainty, but it's like, there's always money out there. And I just
Yeah.
live my life with that philosophy that everything's going to work out. And as
Yeah.
long as I'm trying to help others, whether it was help others with their photography or now their weight loss or building websites or building, my goal is I want to help people out. And then again, if I get compensated, it's like I'm all about those win-win solutions. It's like, hey, I'll help you out. Give me a little bit of money. I'll help you make more money. So
Are you kind of, I know I meet many entrepreneurs and business minded people and everything, and many of them tend to work a lot. Maybe not workaholics, but if they're not doing anything else, they're kind of in front of the computer working, hustling, right? Are you kind of
mhm.
like, do you have like a kind of work-life balance thing going on, you feel which is good, like a harmony? Or you kind of keep on working quite
Yeah,
a
no,
lot?
I feel like I'm getting much better. Like before I had kids, I was the guy that would work till 2 o'clock in the morning and I just always had ideas and I hustled and I hustled and I hustled. I made a
Yeah,
lot of money. Now, the thing is, I don't make nearly as much money as I used to when I was doing wedding photography
sure.
full time, but I've never felt richer because again, I've got a healthy family, I've got a beautiful wife, a great relationship. Everybody's thankfully healthy. And so I feel loved. I feel like I do have a nice balance. And there are times where it's like, yeah, if I'm working on a project, boom, I'm just going to get through this thing if I've got a launch or I want to do some stuff. But now, like I said, the kids are in school for a few hours each day, and I do all my work during that time. When they come home, it is
Yeah,
dad time.
yeah,
And again, we take them to the park, we play, we teach them how to ride a bike, that kind of stuff. And then again, obviously, because health and nutrition is really important to us, I make all our meals and I cook for everybody, and we have a nice family dinner and all that stuff. And then once the kids go to bed, my wife and I have a little time together. Maybe we'll watch some TV, we'll hang out or whatever. And then every once in a while, I will do some more work at night.
yeah,
Um, because it's like I've got ideas and I'm just like, oh, I love this would be a great marketing idea, or this I could schedule some social media posts. So it's
yeah.
it's kind of like whenever inspiration comes to me, I try to get the work done. And then there's times where I'm like, I'm just gonna kind of chill out and take a couple days off, or
I
that's
hear
the
you. Yeah,
again the thing about having the freedom. It's like I don't have to answer to anyone. I don't
yeah,
have many deadlines in my life.
yeah.
um so that's something that I really love, being this digital entrepreneur.
So what about like goal setting? Like you earned, or maybe you earn like six figures, and you have been an entrepreneur for a long time. Like early on, did you have like a clear vision, like you were where you were heading? Did you have clear goals, or do you do that now? Maybe you have that now. Like how do you
I
regard
mean,
those things?
I don't really have specific goals, because what happens is I think when you set like big number goals or anything like
Yeah,
that, you get attached to the outcome. And I realized that you can't control the outcome. All you can control is your input.
yeah,
So I just figured like, hey, every day I try to get up and I have like, I have my little to-do lists and I have my basic schedule. The nice thing is it is very flexible. I drop my kids off at school and that's at a certain time every day. And then I come home and the first thing that I do is I get my workout in. Because if I don't do my workout right away, I don't do it, because other things get my attention and whatever. So I do a fasted workout in the morning. And then it's like I kind of look at the day, and there's obviously appointments happen. Like today
yeah,
we had an appointment to do this call. I've got another appointment later. The things that are fixed on time. And then in between, when there's no time, I just would block out time where, hey, I'm going to do some social media strategy. I'm going to work on my website. I'm going to work on some email promotions, whatever I have going the day. But again, I don't necessarily have a lot of goals per se. I do try to get more people to sign up for my membership every month than cancel, because eventually people will cancel and we want them to cancel. I want my clients to get to the point where they don't need me anymore. Like I'm going to show them how to get healthy and lose the weight and keep it off. And then once they don't need me, it's like, don't keep paying me. Like
yeah.
tell your friends how great I was and refer them that way. I appreciate those kind of referrals, but they don't need to keep paying me over and over once they figure it out. And so as long as, again, more people sign up every month than cancel, my revenue continues to grow.
Okay, so I have a few questions about that part, but also about like your health journey. And you mentioned like exercise as well. I'm more like an evening guy, that I exercise in
Mm.
the evening, like 7 p.m. That's a good time for me to go out, and I have the energy. It's kind of a good moment for me to kind of to close the day and to do something
Mm-hmm.
else and kind of leave work behind. So
Yeah.
after, then after 8 p.m., I try to go offline as much as possible. Sometimes it's successful, sometimes it's not as successful, right?
Yeah.
But I'm also curious then, because I'm actually watching your page, like your home site with, your website, which is beautiful. Like it's really good looking, right?
Thank you.
So I see this image, and at first I saw this image and didn't realize it was you, like on the image, Chris. I
Mm-hmm.
see this heavier, like bigger guy, and then I see this other guy, the more fit guy, and then I see, that's Chris. And the other guy I did not recognize, but then I understood that's actually you plus 100
Yeah.
pounds about, right?
Right.
So
Yeah.
please, like, share a bit about like your health journey. That would be interesting.
Well, so I was always an overweight kid. I remember even when I was little, I was overweight. I was husky. I wasn't like, I never thought of myself as like fat, but I was just big boned. And
Yeah.
I remember, it's funny because as I've gone on this health journey and I start remembering things from my childhood, again, I was born in 1973. And in 1977 is when the US kind of first started floating the ideas of non or low fat diets. And so I remember the very first conversation I ever remember having with my father is he told us we had to switch milk, because back then we drank whole milk
Yeah.
and then we had to
Uh-huh.
switch to skim milk or 2% milk. And my
Yeah.
dad, he told this story like, um, we have to switch to this milk, otherwise you're going to grow up and be fat. And I was like, and he didn't say fat because you don't say that to a 4-year-old,
Yeah.
but he puffed his cheeks out and he's like,
Yeah.
if you
Okay.
don't switch milk. So, and I'm like, he just puffed his cheeks out. I'm like, what is he talking about?
Yeah.
And so sure enough, what happened is we switched to the low fat milk or skim milk, which has way more sugar, as you
Yeah.
know.
Sure.
And
Yeah.
it's so funny because that was what started. And then I became fat, so by
Okay.
drinking the low fat milk. And then
Sure.
we
Yeah.
stopped. My mom used to make, bacon and eggs for breakfast every day. And then we started eating cereals
Mm.
because there's no fat in the cereals or
Yeah.
low
Yeah.
fat in the cereal.
Yeah.
And sure enough, just ironically, like I became overweight. So my whole life I struggled. I wasn't very good at sports. I if I played soccer, I would be the goalie, so I didn't have to run up and down the field.
Okay.
And I
Yeah.
played baseball, I was the catcher. And again, I was just like a big kid. And then again, because I wasn't good at sports, I was like, that's when I really got into photography. And so photography was nice. I didn't have to be athletic, and I started taking pictures. And like I said, I started working at
Okay.
this photo lab.
Yeah.
And then again, the internet came around and I started traveling. And again, I was a single guy living alone and I was making really good money. I didn't know how to cook. So I would have a restaurant deliver food, or I'd go to a restaurant and eat food, and I would just eat processed junk and fast food. And then I would be on an airplane and I'd be eating hotel room service. And I just, all of a sudden, here I am in my mid 20s and I was obese. I mean, I was like overweight. And I mean, I always struggled, but that was when I really got like really big and really unhealthy. And it's just so funny how all this ties together because I read the Tim Ferriss's book, The 4 Hour Work
Yeah.
Week,
Sure. Yeah. Yeah.
such a great book. And like,
Yeah.
no one
Love
had
it.
ever heard of
Yeah.
him then, but I read this book and I thought, oh my gosh, this is great. And that's when I had that idea where, man, when I shot weddings, I made really good money. But when I didn't shoot, no money came in. So that book is what got me started on building a photography network. And so I had a membership site for photographers. I had a couple thousand members paying me $10 or $20 a month. And it was great for a while. It worked out really well. And it was like, oh, I didn't have to shoot as much. And the money would still come in. And I built a name for myself and all that stuff was going on. But again, the same time I was really overweight,
Yeah.
and like I said, I would always crush my business goals. I would set something out and like, oh yeah, I'm going to do this. Or I'm going to hit this revenue number. I used to be really focused on that stuff. But then my personal life was a wreck. I was terrible at relationships. I couldn't keep a girlfriend. My
Yeah.
health was atrocious. I was pre-diabetic. I had high blood pressure, all these things. And then Tim Ferriss came out with his 4 Hour Body book. And I was
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
I like this guy. I already loved his workbook. So let me check out what he has to say about diet.
Uh-huh.
And that was just over 10 years ago when that came out. And I bought that book and I immediately went on a slow carb diet, as he calls it.
Yeah.
And I lost 70 pounds in 1 year. And in fact, I lost 50 pounds in 3 months. And Tim Ferriss actually retweeted me because I said, hey, look, I lost 50 pounds. And
Cool. Yeah.
he mentioned me on Twitter and all that stuff. And it was just kind of like, oh, cool. And then I ended up going to lose 70 pounds the first year. I kept the weight off for a couple of years, and then old habits started to creep back in. I actually had that photography business, that membership kind of went south and things happened, and it was a long story,
Yeah.
but it kind of went away. I broke up with a girlfriend. I met a new girl who is now my wife. We had a long distance relationship. And again, just old habits. I was traveling a lot, so it was like eating out a lot. And I started gaining the weight back. And then again, about 5 years ago, when my first daughter was born, when I found out, oh my gosh, we're gonna have a kid, I realized I had gained half the weight back. So I had lost 70 pounds, I gained 35 back. I was super bummed, but then here I am about to be a dad. So that's when I really started studying nutrition. It wasn't just about weight loss, it really was about health, because I wanted to be around to watch my daughter grow up. And that's when I kind of found out about keto, and I just went straight on keto. I lost the 35 pounds in like a month or so. And then I went on to lose another 30 pounds. And here I am now 100 pounds down. All my photographer friends are like, dude, tell me your secret. Tell me what's going on. So I just started a little side hustle. Like, I'll do some weight loss coaching.
Yeah.
I ran some challenges, did that kind of stuff. And so now it's just one of those things where I just feel compelled as a former fat person who struggled my whole life. And now I don't struggle anymore. So I want to help people because I know how hard it is to lose weight. I know how crappy most of the weight loss advice is. And so that's why I started building this other business where I'm trying to help people get metabolically healthy, lose the weight, improve the quality of their life, all that kind of stuff. And then it's made it so, I can actually do my thing. I read all my nutrition books back here, and I just share and I make videos, and I do whatever I can to help people. And so that's basically, again, how the business side, Tim Ferriss and his original thing, and then his 4 Hour Body got me on this path. And it's been 10 years low carb now. So I just crack up when people say it's not sustainable. I'm like, well, it's probably going to stop working anytime now.
Maybe tomorrow,
Yeah, maybe tomorrow.
You know what I did the first time I read 4 Hour Work Week?
Huh.
I bought it. I started to read maybe 20 pages and then I threw it away.
Wow.
That was the first time, because I didn't get it. That was my previous life, right? Because I kind of had a 9-to-5 job. I thought it was a book about working more efficiently, right? So I saw it as like an insult almost, like you could work less and gain more. So I didn't get it, so I threw it away and then I put it like on my bookshelf somewhere. And then it took 1 year. And then maybe I should read it again. And then I got it, Okay, now it's, and then I started taking notes and I still have it. I read it a few times. It's a great book.
Yeah, it's awesome.
And I was also thinking, like you have a story. Do you think it's easier to build a business like a health coach, for instance, if you also have your own story, with health issues, like, weight issues, for instance?
Absolutely. I think the two things you need to have as a coach and to be a business, you have to have two things. You have to have empathy and authority. And so I point to my before picture and I say, hey, look, I know what it feels like to be fat. I know what it feels like to be teased and picked on. And I know what it feels like to be winded going up a single flight of stairs. I used to struggle to tie my shoes. I couldn't bend over. I was so fat. So I know what it feels like. And then again, I wasted thousands of dollars on personal trainers and shakes and pills and supplements. And I tried every diet known to man. So I know how hard it is. And then what happened was once I realized that the traditional dieting advice is garbage, I basically did everything the opposite of what they said. I lost the weight. I've kept it off. I feel amazing. I've got perfect health. So it's like, now I have authority. I know what it takes. Look, I actually lost the weight. So trust me when I say do this, 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 and this. So I think my clients do relate to me. All I know is too, like whenever I would hire a personal trainer and they had these perfect chiseled bodies and they were in such good shape. And it was like, yeah, okay, that works for you. But I feel like they didn't get what I went through. They don't know what it's like to have man breasts. It's like they're perfectly great genetics, this, that, whatever. And so I think as I look back, like they were giving me advice that worked for them, but it doesn't necessarily work if you're obese. Like I think one of the biggest myths in nutrition is everything in moderation. I'm like, everything in moderation works great for people who are already fit. Yeah, if you're fit, you can have a little of this, you can have a little chocolate cake, you can have a couple beers. If you're overweight, that food is going to keep you overweight, even just a little bit. So, it's just about making those choices. But again, it comes down to empathy and authority. And I know how you feel when you're overweight, and I know what it takes to not be overweight anymore. So sign up and I'll show you exactly what to do.
So when you like, how do you find, like, if you go into the business part of everything, like, so how do you find your customers, Chris? Like, how do you find your, like, because you do lots of different things, like you have
Yeah.
membership sites and everything and coaching clients, like where do you find all of these?
Well, it's just starting out. Like, again, thankfully I did start, and I had kind of a following within the photography community.
Yeah.
I mean, I had like 15,000 followers on Twitter, mostly photographers, but it was like they witnessed my transformation. Because again, I kind of started my journey right after social media kind of got popular, 2008, right around there.
Yeah.
And so people saw on Instagram, here I am, and then I was a little bit smaller, a little bit smaller, a little bit smaller, And so it was just kind of that thing. And when I first did my first weight loss challenge, I had 50 of my friends sign up. And it was basically mostly photographers, a couple other friends that weren't photographers, but mostly photographers. So 50 of them signed up, and we went through this thing, and we lost 1,000 pounds as a group,
Wow.
And so in just a couple of months,
Yeah.
and then all their friends, they would invite their friends. So then in January, I had 150 clients, and so it was kind of this thing that built up. And, and so that was the same thing I did with my wedding business. In my wedding, I never advertised. I never was in a magazine. I never took out a advertisement anywhere.
Yeah.
I took the best pictures that I possibly knew how. I gave them killer service and a great experience. And so when I deliver the photos, please tell your engaged friends about me, and it was all just that word of mouth thing. And that's what I do now. I'm just trying to help clients one person at a time. Well, again, it's I structure it as if it's one person at a time, but it's group coaching. So there's a lot of people, but I care about each individual person. I check each person's like stats when they weigh in, and making sure that I want every single person to go through my program to be successful. And then it's like, hey, if you feel good, hey, people are going to ask them, oh my gosh, you look amazing.
Sure.
What are you doing?
Yeah.
Oh, slide on over to Ketology and find out,
Yeah.
So it's really, mostly it's still been word of mouth. I'm just starting with the Facebook ads and stuff like that, but it's hard. You can't just say, hey, Facebook, show this ad to fat people, because that's not one of the options. And, and that's also offensive, and we don't want to hurt anyone's feelings or anything like that. But at the same point, it's like, hey, look, I just try to be the best coach that I can be. I want my clients to get results, and I want them to sing my praises. That way I don't have to brag about, oh, how my program's so great. It's so this, that, I want my clients to go, oh my gosh, I went through this program. It changed my life. My program's not about losing 20 pounds. It's about life-changing weight loss.
Sure.
Like, you have to buy new clothes when you're done with my program. And again, I know, just because I went through that transformation too, when you're someone who struggles with your weight, and then all of a sudden people are telling you how good you look, that never gets old. No one ever told me that earlier in my life. And now they're like, oh my God, you look amazing. And I'm like, wow, did I really look that bad before? And then it's one of those things where it's just like, it's a total life-changing weight loss. It's not, oh, you lose a few pounds. So,
what's the like what sort of framework do you have? Like, tell me about your programs, like your memberships kind of framework. How does that work?
So I've done a few different things. I started by doing little challenges. And so it would be like 100 days, like give up carbs for 100 days and let's see what happens. And I had a bunch of people sign up. That's when the 50 people signed up, and that's when the 150 people signed up. It was just 100 days. It was a fixed thing. It was very inexpensive. And we just would drop them into a Facebook group, and I'd give them some recipes. I'd give them some tips. I'd do the little Facebook lives. But what happened is they go through the 100 days, and every single person lost weight, usually 25 to 40 pounds in 100 days.
Yeah.
Okay. Great results. But what happened was, even though I warned them during those, I figured if they could do it for 100 days, you can do it forever. Right. But I was wrong. So what happened is people lost 25 to 40 pounds in 100 days. And I always would remind them, the real challenge starts on day 101. What are you going to do when this challenge is over? And some people stuck with it, and they've kept the weight off. Unfortunately, most of the people have gone back to their old eating habits, and some, if not all, the weight has returned.
Yeah.
And then what I realized was, people that didn't get any support after 100 days And then I didn't make any money after 100 days. So I did a one-time thing. And
Sure.
so while I had that course going, I did build a course. So it was like, here's what to eat, here's what not to eat, here's when to eat, here's how much to eat. So I just recorded all the videos because I didn't want to talk to each client one-on-one and say,
Yeah.
oh, here's what you, so, hey, like, let's get smart, let's build a course. But then what would happen too is someone would buy a course and they'd go through the course and they'd learn, but then it's not just the knowledge. Like, learning is one thing, but you have to actually put it into practice. So I
Yeah.
had a course for a while, and then I just realized ultimately what works for this business specifically is a membership. And so what happens now, when they pay for the membership, they get access to the course. And then if they quit the
Okay.
membership, they don't have access to the course anymore. Of course,
Okay.
they can remember as much as they can remember, but they don't actually get in there. But ultimately what happens is we want to show people what to do, and then we want to make sure that they do it. So
Yeah.
part of the membership is we check in every Friday. Every Friday, my clients go in and they log their weight. And so I can see if it's going up or down or however they're doing it. They
Yeah.
don't do it every day, but just once a week. So they're paying for accountability. They're paying for coaching. And there's just something about knowing, like, if you know that somebody else is going to be looking at your scale every week, you're much more likely to make better decisions during the week. And so that's kind of the whole thing. Well, I'm going to show you exactly what to do. I'm going to make sure that you do it. And then if you have questions, again, even though it's group coaching, you just post it in the group and you say, hey, I'm struggling with this, or can I eat this, or what does this mean, or whatever. And then I answer the question, and everybody in the community gets the benefit of the answer. So it's not just a
Yeah.
one-to-one thing. So I do have a handful of one-on-one clients, and I charge a lot of money for that, because I
Yeah.
don't really want to do the one-to-one
Sure.
very
Yeah.
often,
Uh-huh.
because that does take my actual time and I have to be on one-on-ones. But I just like to be able to help as many people as possible. And then the group coaching model, it just works so well for a membership. And then, so again, we do get on Zoom calls, twice a month. In fact, tonight we have another coaching call later this evening. And then, I'll have anywhere from, 6 to 12, maybe 15 people will show up on the call. And then people will just share about their progress. Hey, I'm down 3 pounds this week, or I'm down 10 pounds this month, or, I got a new dress and I got in a smaller size. People just share and encourage. And then they'll ask about recipes, or they'll ask about, what about this food? I heard about this. And so I just kind of help that way. And it's been awesome since I switched this model. I really love it.
So it sounds like you have managed to create like an attractive model. Like, so you have this membership community where people want to be, and they want to kind of be held accountable. Otherwise, I imagine maybe you have a program and a course and people pay for it, but then after a while, maybe they lose kind of, the energy or the focus, and they tend to eat, as they did before. And, oh, I need to put, give my measurements or, weight and those things as well. And maybe they kind of, I don't want to do it anymore. So you manage to create something attractive, as it sounds like.
Yeah, so the membership, it comes with three things. It comes with the course. They get
Yeah.
the pre-recorded lessons. They can watch it whenever they want. It comes with the community, so they can connect with others that are on that same journey.
Yeah.
And then it comes with coaching. So,
Yeah.
so if you do have questions, I'm here. I know what to do. I've been doing this a lot longer. I understand a lot. And then if I don't know the answer, I'll research it and I'll get back to them.
Yeah.
But so that's what they get. They get the course, the community, and the
Okay.
coaching. So the 3 C's. And then again, they can stay for 2 months, or they can stay for 2 years. And what I tell them is I tell them that you want to stay for at least 3 months, because that's how long it takes to really go through the course. Yeah. And then if after 3 months, if this is just great, this is just how you eat, awesome, and you don't need any help anymore, go ahead and cancel. But I just feel like a lot of people, especially who are heavier, who struggle with willpower and discipline,
Sure.
It's just nice. There's just also something about, if you're paying for it every month, you're going to think twice about going out and having beer and pizza. Yeah, and you're going to make better choices. And that's ultimately, it's about helping people develop habits that last. And I thought originally 100 days. I thought, because every other, it's a 3-week diet or a 21-day thing or whatever. I thought 100 days, boom, 100 days, people will get it and stick. Unfortunately, people don't. They do it through 100 days. And they're like, whew, I made it. Yeah, I lost all this weight.
That's what I'm thinking, Yeah.
Yeah. And now I want to eat a cupcake or have a beer or whatever.
Yeah.
And it's okay to have that stuff every once in a while, but it's a very slippery slope.
Sure.
If someone was an alcoholic and they were sober for 2 years, you don't go out and celebrate with champagne. That could put them on a really bad path to, So, and the same thing with sugar, super addictive. And so I've just been trying to help people. Again, it's funny because it's like they all come to me because they want to lose weight, but really what it's all about is health. It's about health gain.
Yeah.
And then the weight loss just happens to be a nice side effect.
Yeah.
And that's what we get as soon as they sign up. That's the frame set. It's like, hey, let's get you so that you're again in top health, so you feel good, you've got tons of energy, and then again the weight loss. Again, it's just a great side effect. So that's how my program's set up.
Cool, cool. So I'm thinking also for the listener, like the most people that listen to the podcast are sort of business minded, or they kind of want to set up some sort of business, or they have just started a business, kind of in the startup phase, right?
Mm-hmm.
And some of them might be kind of health coaches, so in the health area, but they might be in other areas as well. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm thinking as kind of this kind of online courses to create an online community with membership fees. You think that would be a good, framework, structure to set up in other areas as well in order to create that kind of freedom?
I think that's the winning business model. And
Yeah.
again, they'll look at it. Blockbuster Video was a huge company, and then they went out of business in a matter
Yeah.
of years. And Netflix doesn't ask you every month, would you like to sign up for Netflix again? No, they get your credit card one time and they bill it from now until eternity until you decide to cancel. And if Netflix stopped putting up good content, then people will cancel. But they
Yeah.
have an incentive to keep dropping new shows and getting new content so people stick around. And again, it happens for a lot of different things. A lot of things are going to the subscription model, where it is kind of crazy because people do have a lot of subscriptions every month. But again, if it's providing you value, if it's making your life easier,
Yeah.
if it's making you healthier, if it's helping you make more money, like I pay for a lot of different services to host my website, to communicate with my clients, to host my community. So I pay these monthly models, and these guys, I will pay them forever, because if I stop paying them, I don't have something to give my clients. And so they're in a great spot. But I think, again, any kind of coaching that you're doing, like some sort of community, it is about, again, it's about actually doing it. All the knowledge in the world is useless without action. So I don't care what you're teaching or what you're trying to show people, unless they put it into practice, they're not going to get the results. So let's say it's not health coaching that we're
Yeah.
talking about,
Sure.
but business coaching. It's like, well, again, I've got a ton of business books,
Yeah.
and it takes a while to read each of them, but then it's like you still have to take the strategies from each book and figure out how you're going to put it into your life. And then having a community, it'd be great to like join up with other entrepreneurs and say, oh yeah, hey, let's kick around some ideas, especially if they're not competing. I'm like, hey, would you mind looking at my website and giving me some feedback? There's something about getting the feedback from a coach. Oh, that's good. But then there's also just great value in getting feedback from another member, because they're not the coach. They might be your average client, and they go, oh yeah, hey, this doesn't make sense to me, or oh, I love how you worded that, or the graphic looks really good, or whatever.
Yeah.
Just getting that feedback.
Sure. Yeah.
So I think any digital entrepreneur, like a membership model, is a great way to go. You could have a course on the front end, like, hey, learn how to do underwater basket weaving. And then after you do that, well, now you pay for the membership to belong to the basket weaving club, and then you just connect with other people in that community. And again, it is funny, just with COVID, like the whole world is now on Zoom all the time. But
Sure.
people, I think, crave connection. They crave community. They miss going out to Starbucks and restaurants and stuff like that, where it's like, man, if you are connected with other people who share your passions, your interests, and that's worth belonging to that community. So
Yeah.
and I'm doing the same thing. Like, I've been doing the health coaching, and with my business coaching right now, all of it is one-on-one, because I
Yeah.
actually go in and I fix their website and their messaging and their emails. So that does take a little more time, but eventually I see like, oh, well, hey, pay a monthly fee, and then we'll just do group calls, and then we'll all take turns going over your website, and you can still learn when I'm critiquing somebody else's website. And then I could pre-record a course. Well, here's the basics. Here's how you set up email marketing. Here's how you set up a community. Here's how you set up a landing page, all that stuff. I envision doing that. But again, I just have so much on my plate right now. It's kind of a back burner thing. So,
Yeah. I hear you.
can only
Yeah.
do so much.
Sure. Yeah, I'm thinking about doing something like that, like a
Mm-hmm.
branding, like coaching in branding or something, how to set up your profile and things on social media, and maybe create
Mm-hmm.
some sort of membership community or kind of a course around that as well. So that's kind of an idea
Mm-hmm.
as well. But, we are entrepreneurs. We have ideas all the time, right? So one thing at a time,
Yeah,
one thing at a time. So I
exactly.
see time is running as well. I just have a few questions. Like one of them is, okay, so you're in health and everything. And I did ask you this before we got the call, but do you have like a daily routine or something you do in order to like boost your productivity and health, of course, something you do daily in order to be, productive?
I think my number one productivity hack is something I call the Pomodoro
Yeah,
technique. I found out this about a few years ago because I think what happens is I haven't had a 9 to 5 job in almost 30 years. And again, I love this flexibility, but then that can also lead to like, oh, I just procrastinate. I'm like, I don't have any deadlines and I'll just watch TV or I'll go for a run or whatever, or do
yeah,
something. I actually never go for a run. I might go for a walk. But so the Pomodoro technique is basically you set a little timer. I have a little app on my computer and it'll run for 25 minutes. And during those 25 minutes, I focus on one thing. My phone goes into airplane mode. My notifications are turned off. I don't check email. I don't check Twitter or anything like that. I work on that thing for 25 minutes. And then the timer goes off. You get a 5-minute break. I'll get up. I'll get some water. I might do a set of push ups or pull ups or whatever. One little exercise. And then I might sneak onto Instagram and see if I got any comments on my latest post or
sure. Yeah,
whatever. The timer goes off after 5 minutes, and boom, I'm right back at that thing.
yeah,
So what I typically try to do is get through 8 Pomodoros a day, and so that ends up being 4 hours.
yeah,
And if I get 4 hours of focused work, I swear it's more than most people that just work 8 hours and they kind of
sure.
task switching back and forth. And again, that's guess what? My kids or my youngest is in school for 4 hours or four and
Yeah,
a half hours. So when I drop her off, I come home, I do my workout, and then I start the Pomodoros and I try to get that done. And that's again on a typical day. Now sometimes again I have calls or recordings or other meetings, so I don't get to do them back to back to back. But if I have an hour and a half, well, hey, I can get 3 Pomodoros done. And then what I usually do is I just have like a running list, and I'll, hey, today I'm working on email marketing, or I'm going to work on my website, or I'm going to work on again, I do have plans to eventually do some sort of business membership as opposed to just business coaching.
yeah.
So I just maybe just write some notes for 25 minutes, uninterrupted, brainstorm some ideas. And again, I heard this the other day and I forget where I got it. And so it's not my quote, but they said you don't have to create a masterpiece every day, but put a little oil on the canvas every day, just a little bit of progress.
Yeah,
And my dad always told me, like, how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. Just do a
sure.
little something, a little something,
Yeah,
a little something.
yeah,
It gets overwhelming if you try to think of the whole thing.
yeah.
But so the Pomodoro technique is my number one productivity hack.
Cool. Okay, that's awesome, Chris. So I think we're going to round it off there. How can like the listeners of the watch this on YouTube afterwards? How can they get hold of you, Chris?
Well, they can find me at thebecker.com or catology.co. I'm at the Becker on all social media, basically Instagram, Twitter, all that stuff on Facebook. It's just the Becker. But yeah, they can check me out that way. And then if they have questions, what they're either building their business or losing some weight, I can help them with that. And if they need wedding photography, my wife and I can also help them with that.
That's awesome, Chris. Okay, thank you for participating in the Digital Freedom Coach podcast, and for the listeners as well. Make sure to reach out to Chris, and have a powerful day. Be bold, be courageous, and aim high, and just go for it. And thank you for today and listening. Bye bye.